Hi there, my name is Riley, and I'm going to be talking about my Minecraft lesson that I planned out for this project. To give you a little background on myself, I am a high school Spanish 2 teacher. So I also teach level 1, but in my Spanish 2 classes, I mostly have ninth and 10th grade students. So they are coming out of middle school having learned Spanish for quite a few years, and they are now entering their first year of high school Spanish, which would be level 2. We use the Autentico curriculum. And this chapter that I designed, or this lesson that I designed, is meant to be taught in chapter 3B. The context behind chapter 3B is all about navigation, giving directions, and kind of driving in a town. I've always pondered ways to make this like really real world applicable without leaving the school or the classroom because that's not necessarily possible. So Minecraft actually filled the void of an idea that I've had for a long time, but haven't really been able to execute. So, in regards to the vocabulary and kind of learning focus of this chapter, I've listed that here. The grammatical concept of this chapter that ties in with the thematic theme or the thematic concept of the chapter is informal to commands, which might not mean anything to you if you have not learned Spanish before. But basically, in English, these are words like stop, go, cross, walk. Think about things that your GPS would say to you. That is what students are practicing, and it kind of fits nicely into the context of this chapter. Now, this whole learning segment or this lesson specifically takes place at the end of a unit. Ideally, this would be like the summative assessment. So I imagine this would happen at the end of a 2-week kind of learning segment where students have practiced vocabulary initially and then learned about the informal to commands and how to use them and communicate with them. And this would be the culminating task that I have planned this lesson for. To give you the objectives that I'm working with, I kind of have two elements of this lesson. There's receptive communication or interpretive communication, and then also productive communication. So that ties into the goal of students be able to follow directions so they can interpret and then execute directions from a peer. And then they can also give directions and produce language to communicate with their partner. So you can see my objectives here. The first objective is the interpretive goal, and the second objective is the productive goal. These are inspired by ACTFL, which is the American Council of Teaching of Foreign Languages, performance indicators around the novice or intermediate level, which is about where we expect students to be in level 2. So you can read through those, their can-do statements, they're called there, the performance indicators that were the kind of inspiration behind my learning objectives for this particular lesson. There are also the kind of overarching ACTFL content standards that we're working with in this lesson, which are interpretive communication and interpersonal communication, which again, you can read the objectives listed there. So my main goal of this lesson was, if I kind of scroll down a little bit, to have students give them time to get to know the town or the virtual space that they would be navigating, which I'll talk more about how I selected that in a second. And then use Screencastify, which is what I'm using right now to record this video, to record their exchange with their partner, both giving and receiving and following directions. So I would give them about 10 minutes each to give and then follow directions. And their goal was just kind of make it fun and give a challenge, is going to be to find their partner's hidden treasure chest. And that's what they're trying to give directions to. So each partner will have 10 minutes to give directions to their treasure chest while the other partner executes their directions, and then they will flip-flop. This will all be recorded on Screencastify, submitted to me at the conclusion of the period, and then I will later grade their recordings and their efficacy of giving directions and following directions on the interpersonal communication rubric. And I have modified it a little bit to fit the needs of this assignment, but again, that rubric comes right from ACTFL, and it ties in directly with the objectives of this lesson. At the closure of the lesson, students would have time to submit their Screencastify recording to Schoology, which is our LMS, and then they would have some time to evaluate their partner's interpretive and interpersonal communication skills on a little peer evaluation or peer review. So that would kind of be the closure of the lesson. Now that you know a little bit, I guess, about my plan for the lesson, I will talk you through how I went about choosing the structure or the world that I would be working in, because I am not experienced enough with Minecraft to be able to build a whole world myself for what I needed students to do. So my next step was to try to find one in the game, which was not successful because the ones that they have, the villages that exist in the Minecraft game, already were not quite what I wanted. So then my next step was to think, okay, maybe I can download a pre-made world from online. So I did some searching and I found a lot of worlds or websites kind of like this, where you can download maps or structures, but I just couldn't quite find what I wanted. So I eventually, after more searching, found this on the Minecraft education platform. And this is supposed to be a build challenge that they have. It's a lesson about, you can see some of their objectives there about kind of what makes a community effective or what are things that a strong community needs. That's the name of the build challenge, is building community. But I wasn't really interested in that necessarily for this lesson and these objectives. I was interested in this picture here of this map in this town. I thought it was perfect size for what my students needed to do, not too big and not too small. So I downloaded the challenge and then had to teach myself how to add that into my save, which I had a little bit of background knowledge of from The Sims 4, but a quick Google showed me how to do that right on this website. So I eventually was able to open up, and I had to download this first, but open up the Minecraft education site. And let me just go back to, I guess, the beginning here. I opened up the Minecraft for Education. I downloaded the program, I guess, and I then realized that the build challenge that I was looking at, the one that I chose, the little map I chose, was actually in the game itself. So I found it online, but it also is built into the game. And they also have different build challenges there, starter worlds, subject kits that are all pretty interesting, and none that quite applied to the lesson I wanted besides the one that I already found. So I had saved it into my save folder. And then when I went into view my worlds, there it was. So just to show you the world a little bit, I'll just do play instead of host. I think when I use students actually doing it, I'll have to host, but I'll figure that out whenever we get there. And this is the spot that I last let off. But if you can see over here, there is this little guy, the mayor, essentially. And he is the guy that's kind of like instructing you through the build challenge. But if you walk up to him, for my students' purposes, it might be nice to kind of spawn them in these different locations, such as town hall, the grocery store, the playground. So if we went to the playground, for example, you can see this is what they like want you to build at that location, because that's the goal of the challenge. So this is something I'd probably have my students do earlier in the week to kind of build different structures and practice their vocabulary. But for this lesson, that would all already be done. And I'm really just interested in using the map of this world. So like I said, the goal of students is to navigate their partner to their hidden treasure chest using informal 2 commands and giving directions around the town. So I imagine we would all start at the same spawn point. So perhaps that is this location that we start in. This is like a little arena, and they could even wait up in the stands here. And on the, on my signal, all of the students leave the spawn location and they go hide their treasure chest. First, they have to make their treasure chest. So I believe that is in this folder. And there's a couple options. So maybe students wanted just the normal chest. They could put that in their inventory. And then they can choose some things to put inside of the chest, maybe some gold bars or some diamonds, something like that. So they can create their chest by dropping it wherever they want to. So I would, again, my Minecraft skills aren't amazing, but I would get to the location first. So let's say a student wanted to hide their treasure chest near this building or over by the grocery store or by someone's house or in someone's backyard. They could do that. And then their goal would be to navigate their partner to their treasure chest. And again, they have to remember the way. So the idea is that we would have been doing this and getting used to this world for a couple weeks leading up to this assignment. So let's say a student wanted to hide their treasure chest right here, kind of a random spot, but they could put it down and then add the items that they wanted to be inside of it. So they could put their gold in there, they could put the diamonds in there, and whatever else they wanted to put. I'll leave it at that. They close their treasure chest and then they head back to the spawn location. And their goal would be then to get their partner to that spot. Now, I obviously didn't go very far. But if students had more time, they have about 3 minutes to hide their box, and I think it would be a little bit more difficult to navigate them. So that is kind of the goal of the project, is for them to not necessarily build in this world. Maybe that would have happened earlier in the week, but to be able to navigate around this world as a digital space as opposed to a physical space, because that's something that hasn't really been possible in my classroom before. So this using Minecraft for this challenge and to meet these objectives really fills a void that I have had in kind of planning out this chapter in the past. So I'm really excited about this. I hope that it goes well. I'll obviously have to do some kind of work leading up to this project, getting my students familiar with Minecraft in general, those that aren't already and familiar with the world. But I think it will go well. I think they'll really enjoy it. And it will give me a really good idea of where my students are at with their interpersonal communication and the objective of using the informal to commands and vocabulary in context.